Welcome to Naperville Notables. I'm Liz Spencer. Here we're having a conversation with people making an impact in our community, and I'm joined by Deputy Chief Kathleen Anderson of the Police Department. So welcome, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming over and having a chat with me. I appreciate that. I think everybody always wants to know if you always wanted to be a police officer when you
I didn't really know until I was 17, and
Okay.
it's kind of a funny story how that happened. So I was signed up to go to Southern Illinois University, got accepted my junior year for civil engineering, but then I was thinking I wanted to go into the military, so I was thinking of the Air Force Academy. My parents didn't want me to go into the military, so they said, hey, try the police cadet program in Palos Hills, where I grew up. So I tried that. I was 17, it was my senior year of high school. And my second day of doing a ride along there, I just fell in love with it. Everything changes. No 2 days are the same. Anything can happen.
Wow. So your parents actually thought being a police officer would be a little less than an Air Force officer?
Yes, and they didn't think I'd make a career out of it.
Well, you kind of fooled them a little bit on that.
I did.
But I think it's interesting that you said you loved it because everything was different and always changing. Talk to me a little bit about that. Some people would not like that at all.
And I was tracking that way. Engineering is very specific, very methodical, and I like that part of it. But the police work part of it is you try to plan everything out, and then anything can happen, so you got to react to it. So it's a lot of being prepared to and everything mentally and physically you can to be prepared for the job, but then going out and seeing what happens, and you got to use all those skills. So I like that challenge.
That's interesting. I think most people think about police and they think about the patrol officer in the car because unfortunately we usually encounter them. For me, I usually encounter them because I have a very lead foot and likes the speed. So I get pulled over, and that's fine. I respect that. I know my risks. But you were a patrol officer. That was your first encounter here in Naperville?
It was. We all start out as police officers in the patrol division, so I did that for 6 years before becoming a youth investigator for all of 6 months before I was promoted to sergeant, and then I was back in patrol again.
I think patrol would be very neat. I think I would like to ride along, and if I could move back in time, I think if I had joined you there, I might have been a police officer, or I might have become a firefighter too. I like both of them, but what's neat about being that patrol officer, and was it unique for you to be a patrol officer at that time?
Oh, it was not unique. I was looking back and going, gosh, how many female officers did we have on the department at the time? And in 1993, there were 10 female officers on the department when I joined, so that was pretty cool. And actually, the first police officer that was female that was hired by the Naperville Police Department was in 1973.
That's great.
So when I started, path was already paved, so when I came into patrol, it wasn't as big of a deal. I had to make the job on my own merits, not by my gender, which was fantastic.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned that you did a little bit in youth investigation, but you also have done a lot with youth. Tell me why. What's the love with that?
I just have a passion for it. You want to be a police officer because you want to help people. Okay. And the people that you want to help the most are those that are the most vulnerable populations. So youth don't necessarily have a voice for themselves. And the fun thing about working with kids is if you see them and you intercede when they're going down the wrong path, you can correct that behavior, and it's not a game ender for them. They're not going to automatically go to jail. You have so many things in tools in the toolbox, so to speak, that you can do with youthful offenders and get them on the right path. And sometimes they just need a little extra guidance, and it's okay if they make a mistake. Let's get them on the right path.
Right. Sometimes I totally agree. Sometimes you don't know what a kind word or some intervention just once will do.
Yes.
And often I think that's the time where a youth officer would intercede. So you often encounter people not in a great situation. How do you process that you're not always there for the best of times?
Part of it is you have to understand that you're a uniform, you're not getting attacked personally. They don't know you as a person. They're looking at the uniform, and you have to separate that. You have to say, okay, if they're upset because of the situation, or they're upset because the police are here. It's not because of me personally. And you try to talk to them and just keep talking to them calmly, try to reason with them. I've had an extensive amount of training in crisis intervention and crisis negotiation, and it really comes down to communicate. And that's where I think sometimes gender does benefit it. Women like to talk. So why not put the skills to use and just talk and remain calm and work through it?
How do you not take it home and worry about things? Especially in the community, and we hear it's a crazy time out there.
I don't know if I've successfully done that so far. It helps that I live in a different town.
Yeah.
It's about a half-hour drive home, so decompressing on the drive home and trying to unload. I have a great circle of family and friends where I can talk to them. I can make that phone call on the way home and try to decompress so that when I walk in the door to my own family, I'm not coming with all the burdens from work. But it's still hard, and the higher that I've gone in the chain of command, the more burdens that are on your shoulder, and they're not necessarily always the community. They're personnel issues, they're budget issues. There's a lot of things that are always on your mind.
Yeah, well, and taking time out for you, I think, is important. I think we're all getting a little smarter on that, whether it be police or fire or just regular. So thank you, and we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be back with more Naperville Notables. Stay tuned.